Thank you for being here with us, whether you're joining us in the pews or online. The announcements for this morning. I need to announce the Charitable Outreach Committee is taking nominations for next year's Charitable Outreach. And they have a desk or a table in the back right about there, and they are taking nominations. So if you would like to nominate somebody for charitable outreach this coming year, fill out the form they have provided. Now, having done one of these last Sunday, I need to point out to you, it's a two-sided form because I only filled out one side and that made me inept. Don't be inept. Fill out both sides of the form. There we go. Okay. And between the service and lunch bunch, we will share coffee and conversation here in the gathering place and just outside the sanctuary. And the big announcements for me this morning is the following. Are you new to UU? Well, if you have one of those blue name tags, this Sunday is Exploring Emerson Sunday with Nancy Lipp, whom I'm very familiar with. Okay, so this will be Exploring Emerson Sunday up in the library after the service. And so please, if you would like to learn more about UU, join Nancy in the library after church. Okay, we'd like to especially welcome our visitors this morning. We are very happy you have chosen to include this place in your spiritual journey. You should have been handed a welcome packet when you arrived. If you did not, we are sorry for this oversight. Please feel free to ask for one as you exit the sanctuary this morning. The welcome kit includes a yellow card. Anyone? That just like the one in the back of the seat back in your area. If you fill it out, we will put you on your... I'm getting to that. We will put you on our twice weekly mailing list to keep you connected. So whenever you are ready to take that step, feel free to complete the card and leave it in the offering boxes. And remember, fill out both sides. Two in the front of the church and one in the back. And welcome to Emerson. We are delighted that you are here. Now, Reverend Ed is away this week, so please help me in welcome Nina Kuzniak as our pulpit guest. She is a seminarian on the path toward UU Parish Ministry and is the intern serving multiple UU churches in Houston, including Emerson, this church year. And now, please enjoy our prelude as we formally begin our service. And now we transition into our sacred time together, a time of reverence, a time of attention, a time of intention. I invite you to join us in this time, marked by the lighting of our chalice flame. I would like to invite longtime member, longtime violinist, longtime, Ed Frater, to come forward and light our chalice flame in the sanctuary. And I invite those of you at home to light a candle where you are to join in the Spirit. We mark this sacred time with words, important words that bring us into a time of collective intention. As we light our chalice flame here in the sanctuary, we hear words of wisdom when we light our chalice. This month, those words come from Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was a German philosopher who lived in the second half of the 19th century. He was a professor of philology, the study of classical Latin and Greek texts. He completed much of his core writing. He suffered with poor health, and as a result, his working years were cut short. During his working years, he wrote 29 books, including Also sprach Zarathustra, from which this quote is taken. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. I would believe only in a God who could dance. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star.
Good morning. Emerson is a beloved community of faith and reason and affection. We welcome all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We do this by gathering to seek, learn, and grow, and in the course of our work, to promote love among one another, our congregation, and the wider community here in Houston. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom or maybe through Facebook, we welcome you. No matter where you are in your personal spiritual journey, we invite you to live and learn and love and grow with us. As a covenantal community, we aspire to promote love, fellowship, and social justice, as well as support for your personal growth. So now please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. And now I invite the children to follow their teachers to their classroom for today. And I also invite Richard Cummins to now share with us today's UU history moment.
Thank you, Reverend. From Frank Shulman's wonderful book, Compilation of This Day in UU History, I've picked some items for this particular week. On the 18th of November in 1787, James Freeman was ordained as a Unitarian minister at King's Chapel in Boston by the authority of the congregation after 2 Anglican bishops refused to ordain him. At the service, he was named rector, minister, priest, pastor, and ruling elder. Thus, the first Anglican church in America became the first avowed Unitarian church in America. Through Freeman's Harvard College associations and civic activities, King's Chapel grew into full relations with its former Puritan enemies. And also on the 18th, in 2003, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court issued its decision in the case of Goodridge versus the Department of Public Health of Massachusetts. The court held that under the Constitution of Massachusetts, it is illegal to deny to people of the same gender the same marriage rights granted to people of different genders. The primary plaintiffs were Hillary and Julie Goodridge. Of the 14 plaintiffs, 7 were Unitarian Universalists, including Hillary. The Unitarian Universalist Association and the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association of Massachusetts filed amicus curiae briefs in the case. And lastly, 1861, same date, the Unitarian Julia Ward Howe wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic at the specific request of President Abraham Lincoln. Many of the Union forces adopted it as a marching song in the Civil War, but it soon gained nationwide popularity. American troops sang it at the Spanish-American War, World War I, and World War II. Who's next? Stephen? To you.
It is important that we acknowledge that our history is a shared and harmful one. This congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and the Atakapa peoples, who lived here for at least 2,000 years before European settlers arrived and very nearly brought about their end. May we recognize, uplift, and support indigenous voices and communities in our work as a congregation. Our opening words today are by Parker Palmer, an American author, educator, and activist who focuses on issues in education, community, leadership, spirituality, and social change. This is an excerpt from the book Practicing Peace, a devotional walk through the Quaker tradition. God comes to us in the midst of human need, and the most pressing needs of our time demand community in response. How can I participate in a fairer distribution of resources unless I live in a community which makes it possible to consume less? How can I learn accountability unless I live in a community where my acts and their consequences are visible to all? How can I learn to share power unless I live in a community where hierarchy is unnatural? How can I take the risks which right action demands unless I belong to a community which gives support? How can I learn the sanctity of each life unless I live in a community where we can be persons, not roles, to one another? And now, with our chalices lit and our hearts and minds centered, we invite you to join our choir here, which I guess I'm a part of, their voices with ours in a celebration by singing a hymn. You may stand if you are comfortable doing so, or you may stay seated, but please help us raise our voices and sing. Our opening hymn is We'll Build a Land, number 121 in the gray hymnal.
Land
Each time we gather, we ask your help in fulfilling this church's mission. The success of this church and of the principles we support is made possible by the work of our members and friends and by your financial support. We honor that support by striving to live the mission of this place fully and wholeheartedly. Here at Emerson, this collection does not go to funding our work, which is funded through our pledges of financial support. This collection each week goes to fund the work of important partners of Emerson who, in our opinion, live out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community and in the world beyond our community. The act of giving our financial support is both a transformative spiritual act and one way we live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our November Share the Plate recipient, Plant It Forward. Plant It Forward offers economically disadvantaged refugees an opportunity to become self-sufficient through growing, harvesting, and selling organic produce. The organization secures land, trains and mentors farmers, and facilitates sales to local markets. After a year of training in gardening as well as business practices, each farmer is loaned land for their own urban farm to sell it under the Plant It Forward brand. Plant It Forward facilitates 22 locations and creates markets for the farmers' produce. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals each day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our web page for online giving, put cash or check in the offering basket, or mail a check to the church.
Now is the time, beloveds, to feel yourself fully arrive into this space. So I invite you to scan your body for any signs of tension or discomfort. Notice perhaps your brow is feeling tense or your shoulders are feeling tense. And visit those places in your body that are holding tension and give them love and tenderness, and invite them to relax. Notice your body and notice your breath, and allow your breaths to flow in and out naturally, and extend gratitude to the rise and fall of your body. I invite you to breathe with me, and I will provide cues for the in-breath and the out-breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I offer peace. Breathing out, I offer peace. Breathing in, I offer tenderness. Breathing out, I offer tenderness. Breathing in, I offer grace. Breathing out, I offer grace. Breathing in, I offer forgiveness. Breathing out, I offer forgiveness. Breathing in, I offer love. Breathing out, I offer love. In the busyness of the days of our lives, our breath is always there to return to, reminding us that we are a part of the heartbeat of the world. God of our understanding, Spirit of life, sacred mystery, be with us this morning as we derive strength and sustenance from our interdependence. Bless us as we heal a bleeding, shuddering world with care and forgiveness. Witness us as we turn toward each other with hearts full of grace and welcome. Protect us as we carry forth our ancestors' legacies of fighting for equity and justice. In these times of instability and fear, help us remember that in sharing, collaborating, and caring, we may thrive. Help us to do the work that is only ours to do, to remember to rest and to nourish along the way, to share strength and will with each other and our Earth Mother, and to walk the spiritual path that brings us home to ourselves again and again. We pray this in the name of all that gives life. Amen. The words for the second reading today come from Alexis Pauline Gumbs. Alexis is a writer, a scholar, a poet, an activist, and an educator who is based in North Carolina. She identifies as a queer Black troublemaker and a Black feminist love evangelist. This is an excerpt from her book that is called Undrowned: Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals. Pantropical spotted dolphins are synchronized swimmers and community builders. They travel in pods of hundreds, but within these pods, they organize into groups of 20 or less, and they time their diving and beautiful acrobatics to be exactly in sync. Out in the ocean, they participate in mobile interspecies collectives consisting of other dolphins, yellowfin tuna, and even seabirds. Scientists have different theories about why they do this, most of which can be summarized in these words: knowing who they're with helps them know where they're at and then where they want to be. Maybe this is a part of their pan-tropical resilience, because despite the serious and wasteful harm of decades of tuna net strangulation, they remain one of the most abundant species of dolphins on the planet. Of the great organizers with pan-tropical visions, like Claudia Jones or Mila Aguilar or Mama Tingo, there are really too many to name. And now, I think of you. When I can't see the shore, I am here timing my breath to yours, knowing collectively we can leap, we can dive, we can practice our faith in each other. Here ends the reading. In the nursery of my childhood home hung a piece of art that read, "A child is not a thing to be molded, but a person to be unfolded." I, then my younger sister, and then our younger brother slept near that art all our baby years. And I asked my mom about it recently. She told me that it encapsulates her parenting philosophy wholly, that everybody is their own unique person, and her job as a parent was to keep us safe and protected, but to help us have the experiences and the confidence to unfold into exactly who we were meant to be. And what a tender sentiment. How easy it is to extend that kind of grace to a snuggly little satisfiable baby without much mobility or autonomy. I think anyone who has loved children can relate to the experience of gazing at them, feeling protective of their best interests and hopeful for their future. But how many of us can tap into that same generosity of spirit with the emotionally distant partner or noisy neighbor, the needy relative, or the person who voted against your rights? It's not so easy to gaze upon them with hearts in our eyes and say, "Oh, you're just unfolding into the person you were always meant to be." That kind of work, building tolerance for what's different, is something that I love about Unitarian Universalism. Having found my way to this faith community in my early 20s, I quickly recognized that our spaces, when tended to with care, provide a sanctuary for many who have been rejected elsewhere, while also acting as incubators for diverse people to explore diverse relationships. The bounties of our spaces are many, though we are no more panacea of community than any other space built by fallible people with good intentions. I learned a lot about community from my being a part of my home congregation in Las Vegas. In a particularly changeful time, we cycled through 2 ministers and into a season of lay leadership. While there was strong shared belief that we belonged together, we were often faced with situations that highlighted how, despite shared values, we used different strategies to bring them to life. And there really isn't a better way for me to illustrate that dynamic tension than to tell you a story about what we referred to as the back lot. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas occupies an old Elks Lodge in a lower-income neighborhood of the city. The church's proximity to families and communities with need meant that we didn't need to go far to practice widening Love's Circle. The land itself, owned by the church, included the building that we worshiped in, and then a couple acres behind that building that housed our trash cans and a small shed, and was otherwise relatively undisrupted natural desert landscape. What to do with this plot of land was a recurring conversation. The ideas, some materialized, some not, included hosting a cell tower and using the earnings of that cell tower to maintain our property, converting the lot into a playground and a basketball court for the many families who were our neighbors, and creating a green space or a garden that could serve as a spiritual respite and a small response to the food desert in the micro-neighborhood. There were those who wanted to give the land back to the indigenous Nuuvi Southern Paiutes, and those who wanted to partition the lot and sell the back half for development. We were a community of diverse people and diverse opinions. In the absence of decisions and follow-through, the space, the back lot, ended up blighted and sometimes occupied by our houseless neighbors who would occasionally burn fires to keep warm at night. Once a tree burned down on the property. The community coalesced around this issue. What were we to do? There were as many opinions and fears and interests as there were people in the room, and these diversions of opinion were not unemotional or simple matters. For example, regarding the matter of our houseless neighbors, some members felt it is our job to offer as much safety and shelter as we can, while others felt unsafe around the people who camped in the lot, their behaviors, and the messes that they sometimes left. It was a congregational leader who suggested that we invite police to join us during coffee hour on a Sunday after service to enlist their support in navigating the issue. Her suggestion was wholehearted. She was curious about the potential of partnering with those who promise and claim to protect and serve the community. Another community member, an educator, an activist, and a parent to a trans kid spoke up. She said, "Inviting police into this building means neither me nor my child will feel safe here, which means we will no longer attend." She suggested we form a committee of lay people to attend to the issue and do our best to bypass working with the cops. Her suggestion was wholehearted. She was curious about how the strength of our community could be relied on to meet the needs of both our property and our unhoused neighbors without relying on police force. We were pulling complicated threads. Having cops invited into our space of sanctuary and safety, of equity and of justice made some people feel safer at the prospect, and others feel far less safe. I share this example because it's important to remember that just because our communities share a set of core values doesn't mean that we have the same ideas about how to bring them to life. It seems that through time and space, crossing language barriers and political regimes, in intimate relationships or on a global scale, the gritty and the difficult parts of building and sustaining community are evergreen, which means that our commitment toward working toward peace and resilience in our communities must also be evergreen. We've always been trying and failing and trying again to build beloved community, which is formed, Bell Hooks says, not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and the cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live in the world. I believe that our shared theology, which at its best fortifies us to meet our differences with curiosity and grace, may act as a guidepost in a time when building community is more fraught and more necessary than ever. When we come together as Unitarian Universalists, we decide how we want to be together. And this is an attraction and an imperative of our shared faith, because in lieu of shared beliefs, we have shared behaviors. And in identifying them, we act alongside our siblings across space and time in the act of creating covenant. Covenant is a mutual sacred promise between individuals or groups to stay in relationship, to care about each other, and to work together in good faith. This is idyllic in theory and messy in practice. Parker Palmer, the educator, activist, and the author of our first reading today, continues his commentary on community by saying, "In true community, we will not choose our companions. For so often our choices are limited by self-serving motives. Instead, our companions will be given to us by grace. Often they will be persons who will upset our settled view of self and the world. In fact, we might define true community as that place where the person you least want to live with lives." Community is the highest aspiration of the human heart, a place for us to embody together an aliveness and a set of ethics that may elude us individually. In a society and a global moment that obsesses over and lauds individualism, our ability and willingness to nurture community is both a spiritual practice and a rejection of empire, which feeds on our separateness. Real community is what exists on the other side of convenience, calling us to heed our better angels and act in the interest of the common good. We don't do community because there is some assurance that it will always feel good. We commit to staying even when it doesn't. The popular norms of individualism and competition, along with call-out and cancel cultures, create fertile ground for us to focus more on the risk of coming together than the benefit of it. Most of us are not really trained to have strong community muscles, yet we here in this space, we share a value of interdependence, which calls us to remember that we are each but one tiny part of a much larger, more precious, regenerating community that spans to include our ancestors, our descendants, all flora, all fauna, and the land itself. It is a privilege to live within sight and sound of each other, to bear witness to the messiness that it is to become someone. As Adrienne Marie Brown says, we are brilliant at survival, but brutal at it. We tend to slip out of togetherness the way we slip out of the womb, bloody and messy and surprised to be alone. The belief in beloved community is something that anchors us both to the founding and to the future of our faith. So perhaps it's helpful to consider how we can develop our skills in doing so. There is an article that I have been meditating over lately in which the author suggests that people interested in building community de-escalate all conflict that isn't with the enemy. De-escalate all conflict that isn't with the enemy. If what Alexis Pauline Gumbs, author of our second reading, tells us is true, that knowing who we're with helps us know where we're at and where we want to be, then how do we differentiate between who is with us and who isn't? How do we know who the enemy is? The enemy is not the person who has disrupted your worldview. It is not someone who has caused you an inconvenience. It is not the person whose strategy you don't understand as they work to achieve your shared goal. Yet circles of people doing the work of creating more justice and equity and love in the world are often mired down by infighting or the perception of the other as wrong or expecting some version of perfection. Systems of oppression rely on us to turn away from each other, to abandon each other when sticking together becomes inconvenient, making just enough space for the status quo to flow in and take over once more. Patriarchy relies on women abandoning each other in hopes of gaining greater power through proximity to men. White supremacy relies on people of color abandoning each other in hopes of gaining greater proximity to power through whiteness. But these systems of oppression are ill-prepared for us to find ways to collaborate and build across lines of difference, to build coalition. Coalition building is the act of forming an alliance between groups to increase overall power. Many voices, we know, speak louder than just one, and many of the most important societal changes can be attributed to the power of coalition. Many of the greatest justice gains in history that we think of and we call on as our justice-oriented ancestors, they belonged to coalition. Coalition building between children's advocates, religious leaders, and unions to enact child labor laws in the early 20th century paved the path for workers' rights that protect us still today. And the vibrant political activity of the 1950s and 1960s saw coalition supporting the passing of strong, life-affirming legislation, including the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. In our shared faith tradition, coalitions have been formed and maintained to bring our values-aligned work to life, including the UU Climate Justice Coalition, the UU Animal Ministry, the UU Service Committee, Diverse and Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries, the UU Women's Federation, and so many more. Through these various coalitions within Unitarian Universalism, where people have coalesced around a shared identity or interest, our circle of love has been made wider, more accessible, and more impactful on the global community. And coalitions within our wider UU community can be credited with achieving many of our most important steps forward. This includes the hard work that was done in good faith by strongly convicted people who organized according to their values in 1961 that led to the merger of our two origin faith communities. It was also coalition work that codified the eighth principle, a statement of explicit anti-racism adopted by nearly 300 Unitarian Universalist communities across the country. And most recently, in the analysis of our own founding documents, our co-religionists coalesced to replace our sources and our principles with love-centered values. Now, I think that it's important to not romanticize this work or to shroud it in an ideal of ease or of certain success. The strength of community is not only visible in efforting toward our shared values-aligned causes. Even our own striving religious community has seen coalitions banded together in support of quite unsavory positions, including anti-abolition, eugenics, and apartheid. And today, in this fraught political climate, we see the power of coalition in the growing support of the fascist power takeover of our country, and the power of coalition refusing it and fighting back. Every day, we see how the power of the people isn't always used for the collective good. But every day, we also see how the power of the people is sacrificed because we are too busy or too tired, or we lack the imagination or the skills of communicating across lines of difference. These systems of oppression that we are committed to dismantling are relying on our unwillingness to coalesce around what we have in common. The power of coalitions comes not from successfully establishing an echo chamber of many people with the same identity markers and viewpoints, but from finding consensus in diversity, from finding common ground that is firm enough to build on despite our differences. Unlike communities which have the potential to serve us for our whole life long, coalitions rise and fall based on necessity. And these agreements that we make to intentionally come together in recognition of a shared desired outcome, that is a real chance for us to put our commitment to interdependence into practice. The founding and the framing documents that shape our world and our community are the best efforts of imperfect humans to respond to needs at a particular moment in time. It is our charge to infuse these static words on a page with the energy and the sustenance needed to carry us through the most difficult times. The UU congregation of Las Vegas wrote into their covenant, We are building a multicultural, multi-generational community that promotes and strives towards justice and works to end marginalization of all people. By returning to this source of truth, this inspirational document that names who we aspire to be, we realized that partnering with police was not the way we promised to bring our values to life. A committee was formed, and volunteers responded to the needs of both the people and the property on a rotating basis, and it was not perfect, but it was a solution that kept us in our integrity, always striving for better ways to stay connected and caring for each other in an often painful world. The community leader and the parent activist that I referred to before, they weren't enemies, and they knew it, and our community was better for them remembering it. Our guiding documents are aspirational. The community that we build daily in our homes and hearts and public spaces, those too are aspirational. They say that we'll protect and practice freedom, liberation, and change, and they don't say that this will be easy or convenient or without conflict. They don't glorify one strategy above another, and if they're concerned with truly thriving, they generally don't lock the door behind anyone. So this is the lesson for us. Too often in community, we are willing to believe that our opponents are not just wrong, but they are our enemies. We allocate finite, precious time to fostering contempt, and we obscure our own precious ability to do critical work in the world. So as we work to live and lead and love in systemic collapse, let us remember this, that solidarity is power plus love plus direction. What we generate together, based on what we believe should be true and not, what we are willing to fight for with our whole lives and our whole hearts, this is the string that connects us forward and backward in time. To all those who have built communities of love and justice before us, to all those sweet babies yet to unfold into the people they are becoming. When we come together and create covenant, we are able to receive the love and grace, the belonging and the forgiveness that already exist within us, mirrored back by others, in a sacred affirmation of interdependence, especially in diverse spaces of difference. As seekers, we willingly choose to love each other and stay in relationship over and over, again and again. And in this way, although the road may sometimes be rough, by leaning into the transformational power of our faith, we can always begin again in covenant to love. Amen. Please join us today in our closing hymn, which is number 188 in your gray hymnal, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Now we close this sacred circle. We've come to the part of our service where we extinguish our chalice. So I once again invite Ed up here to extinguish. Oh, okay. We have a replacement, an Ed replacement. Jill, thank you. The flame has served as a reminder to us that our time together this morning is sacred, a time set apart. In the words of Reverend Brian Keeley, the chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each of us. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. We are so grateful for your presence this morning. For all of those who have joined us virtually, after the postlude, we will be ending our live streaming service. Thank you for joining us in person or online. Friends, as we break this sacred space, may the abundance and care that we fostered here spill out into the wider world. May your work of loving and living be infused with a spirit of tenderness and the evergreen support of this community. May you carry softly the pressures of this world and remain open to the mystery of what's to come. Go today in peace and power.